Welcome to She Loves the Grid, where we discuss all things F1. Whether it's happening on the track, in the paddock, or beyond the grid, we'll talk about it all. And we're back after summer break. And no, not even summer break. It was a fall break. It was a fall break. I feel like it was summer break, but it was fall break. And you know what? It's because the weather's nice in Berlin today.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it felt like a summer break because we were off for 3 weeks with no nothing. Teams were actually working compared to summer break where they cannot work. So they were all working and doing their thing. Busy with all the upgrades that came to Austin this weekend. But
crazy.
For us, we took some time off.
Yeah, so real quick, how are you, Diane? How has your few weeks been?
Good. Very busy, nonstop. Going. But there's an end in sight, so that's good. How about you?
Good. You know, like it's been nice weather. We got chilly, then warmer, but you know, as you know, it's as we're recording. This is in the middle of the night for me on Monday night because I am popping on a plane in a few hours to head back to the States for a couple weeks. So
that's amazing. One more trip for you.
One more trip before the year is out. Then I think I'm grounded for the rest of the year. All right. Well, we should get into this. So Austin, oh my gosh, like what a crazy, I mean, there's crazy news going up to it. We didn't even talk about this before we got on. It was just like there was still a lot of the Ricciardo backlash and all that over the break and all of that. And just wow.
Yeah, that was, I don't think we even recorded after they announced that he was not coming back. And they wasted no time in announcing Liam Lawson would be, which was not a shocker to anybody. Everybody was expecting it to be Liam. There was a lot of anger throughout the F1 community, just as a whole. Online, you know, some of the commentators or different, you know, things that I listened to, just talking about how Red Bull did Daniel wrong. Like, was it wrong that he was let go? I mean, maybe not. He wasn't, you know, he hasn't been outperforming Yuki pretty much the whole of the year. But to not give fans, to not give, you know, the teams, people love him.
Yeah.
They had no opportunity to say goodbye. So, and especially going into his favorite race, Austin. He was supposed to get the key to the city in Austin during this weekend. They're going to postpone that to a later date, but yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. And it was interesting because like we were talking about during the break too, while he lost his seat just as unceremoniously as he gained that exact seat, he just has a different background than the person he took it from, right? He's, you know, got much more time in F1. He's 8-time champion, you know, like there's, you know, or Grand Prix champion, right? So like there's that kind of stuff that he's just so much different than when he took it from Nick DeVries. But, you know, it was kind of he just kind of got booted the same way he booted the previous person.
Yes, exactly. And then there were rumors that came out that Red Bull was going to surprise us and announce him as like Sergio's replacement, which we're not even sure if Sergio is being replaced for next year. I mean, he has a contract, all that good stuff. He's mentioned retirement. But, you know, it's like, don't toy with us. But now we're back to it's between Yuki and Liam for that.
But with Sergio, you know, we talked several episodes ago about the conditions he has, and we'll see later on. He's over 200 points behind Max now.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And he didn't look great most of this weekend either. So,
no.
But Austin was our first 3 weeks, 3 straight weeks we have coming up, 6 races left. And there's 3 sprints left. So this Austin was also a sprint race, which, bring on the extra points. There's lots of talk about the point difference between Lando and Max.
And it's crazy that you've got 3 sprints left and we've got 6 races, and that only gives 3 really good races for the teams to finish out the requirements for getting the rookies in.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So we will see. Usually it happens towards the end of the season, but there's a lot of teams that are fighting even in the mid and, you know, kind of the bottom of the pack. there's teams fighting for every single point. Like James Bowles was excited that they got a point this weekend. That's important for their battle against Alpine at the moment. And where do you slot in? I mean, practice is practice, but when you have, like you said, 2 more sprint races, you're not going to put somebody in an FP1 when that's practice.
Why do you think Alpine grabbed, was it Ocon at the end and had him come in and get fastest lap?
Oh,
think about it. To take the point away from Franco, because Franco had it. And that would have been an extra point for Williams. They took that point away from him.
Right. Oh my God. Okay. I was on a plane and I was watching. Actually, my one flight did not have Wi-Fi service at all. And so I started watching it. Then I lost service. Then I got off the plane, started to watch it again. And I did not pick up on that because by the time I was finishing the race, I was boarding my next flight. And so
Franco had an extra point. He had it. And because he finished in the points, people, we say this to state the obvious because hopefully we have new people who are learning from us, but only if you get fastest lap, you only get the point if you're in the top 10. So while Ocon doesn't get the point, he took fastest lap away from Franco. And that means that Williams doesn't get that point.
Yeah.
So it's no different than them sending Danny out to take the point away from Lando. I mean, that's literally what is happening. And it was so cute when Franco's like, why do you have to come out and get the point? Why did you go and put the tires on? That was a waste of tires. It's bad for the environment. That's true. But they were taking the point from you, man. And Williams.
Yeah, because he did finish in 10th. And I mean, Alex, well, we can talk about this in a second. He had a terrible thing happened to him at the beginning of the race. And so he wasn't anywhere close to the points, but that would have been 2 points for Williams. Oh my goodness.
And Alpine and Williams are the ones that I believe they're fighting right now. So that was the reason, because, Alpine and Williams, because Williams is now 4 points ahead of Alpine, and that would have made him 5 points ahead of Alpine.
Yes. And again, if you're new to F1, where you finish in the constructor standings, you get a certain amount of money. So obviously first place gets, a ton plus wind tunnel time, I think. And it just gets lower and lower as you go down. So poor Sauber is going to end up with the bare minimum.
0 points still. Oh my God.
Right. So, I mean, even in that midfield, it's tough. It's tight. So
yes, it is.
Well, let's kind of jump into some of you know what else we need to talk about that happened beforehand is the stuff that came out about, it ended up being Red Bull. But the FIA initially earlier this week had said there's a team that we think can make their car they can work it from the inside is how I understood it to raise and lower the front of the car. And at first they didn't say who, it was just a team. But then it quickly came out that team was Red Bull. And there was all kinds of pictures out there. Yeah.
It was interesting hearing Christian Horner and even Max. Max wasn't as much on top of it or saying it as much, but then was like, it is in there, but there's a cover over it. You really couldn't reach into it while you're driving. But what they're saying, it wasn't that you're reaching in while you're driving. They're saying that between quali, while it's supposed to be in parc fermé, meaning no changes can be made, you can lower. And even Russell was like, even a track like this, being able to just lower that front end just a little bit, I mean, that helps out. So they had to take it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Zach Brown, who, I don't usually agree with Zach Brown, but I sure have lately, on a couple of things he spoke out about this week, but that was one of them. And he's like, then why do you have it, if it can't be reached from inside the cockpit, not necessarily while they're driving, but like you said, they could park it in parc fermé. You don't have to be obvious about it. A mechanic can quickly take off that little thing and make a twist and boom, you're done. Nobody would probably think anything of it. So Zach's like, well, why do you have that access then? Why is there access there? That doesn't make any sense. And he's like, I'm not saying, they did it or they didn't do it, but there's stuff that just isn't adding up. And I agree. And to me, it's just like, there's been little things that have come out, especially since, they no longer have Adrian Newey since Miami, that have been very shady, a little questionable. So
very much so. So interesting.
Very.
Well, let's get into some fun lids and stuff, starting with what is it? Alex's 100th, right?
Yes.
Alex's first. I've got Oscar's first. Sorry. Oscar's got first. And that's so cute.
Yes, I love that. Austin always seems to bring out like a lot of fun stuff, right? A lot of fun lids. And this is Oscar's helmet. I love the front with the cactus and, US 81, and it's got Piastri. It's got, a typical highway signage. I loved this. I didn't even notice it until, I don't know what it was, one of the sprints qualifying maybe. What a great helmet.
I like it. I do like the Piastri US 81. I like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, and then the entire team went chrome over the week too. So
which ended up being a good thing.
Yeah. Especially when we see till the next slide for those not watching on our YouTube. But oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is a throwback, I think they said, to when Lewis Hamilton was with the team. So bringing back that chrome, and then of course one of their sponsors is Google Chrome. So what a great marketing tool. It looked good out there. I liked it.
And it gave them some difference since Alpine went the Indiana Jones theme.
I don't see Indiana Jones. I don't
see it either. Like I just see Western when you see their overalls.
It reminds me of Woody from Toy Story. That's what I thought it was. That's what I thought it was. It was just a picture of Pierre in that outfit with the cowboy hat on. And I thought, how cute. They're doing Woody from Toy Story and they're in the South. Cowboy. And then I heard it was Indiana Jones. I'm like, I don't get it. It just looks like you can't be McLaren, pretend you're McLaren and paint your car orange.
I know, right? Because it's that. And then, but they're adorable. This is cute with them. But like, this is so West, like you said, it doesn't seem Indiana Jones as much as it's Western.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That was an interesting one.
I don't get it. And why Indiana Jones? Like, just going back to that, like, why? Where's the tie into Alpine? Why? Is Indiana Jones from Texas or something? Like, have I just not seen that movie?
I don't think so.
Okay. I couldn't figure out the tie-in.
Oh, there's Haas, nice with red, white, and blue since America team, and that's on their home race.
This is a great livery. I love just the star. It's like one star like Texas. It's the red, white, and blue. Really, really nice job on this.
They did the garage. You love a theme. So
you love a theme. Carry it all the way through if you're going to do it.
I did like how they've got like NH27 and KM.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
No, they did a great job. Love that. They needed to bring something as the
Absolutely.
And I love
Valkyrie. I love the brightness. It's so fun. He's always so fun. Like if he does not get a seat next year, I'm going to miss him.
Oh, I'm going to miss him so much. And I mean, we haven't heard anything and I thought we would know something from Sauber, but this whole keep things weird, Austin, I think is what it says, but it definitely says keep things weird. The pinks, the greens, like it's so groovy and like a little preppy. And one thing I love about Valtteri is he does carry that theme through. So he's got the mini helmet, he's got a bag, he's got a hat, they had shirts, like the whole shebang. Like talk about a marketing master. I just love it.
I love it. Really I love how down to earth he is. He's just in jean shorts and a t-shirt, man. That's my style.
I hope they tell us something. And then Alex,
oh my God. The 100. So his 100th race. I thought this was so cool. And then him sharing pictures of him younger and all that, because these are all from his Twitter page. So I thought this was really cool.
Oh, it's so cute. The doctor, this was his karting helmet back in the day. And like, I mean, to celebrate 100 races, 100 Grand Prix is incredible. And he had a little stint where he wasn't in. Red Bull kicked him out, and so he was out for a little while and came back. And that's got to be so special to have that. I don't know. I love it.
I love it. Love it.
Very nice.
All righty. So the race, well, sprint weekend, there's the sprint. The only thing I thought was just crazy. This was a weekend that showed with sprint, and even the drivers commented that it was difficult only having the one practice because they had a resurfaced track and lots of wind.
Yeah.
So we saw lots on all the qualies and all the races, track times being deleted. That turn 19 and turn 9 both being brutal for everybody.
We have 12. I don't know if 12 was track limit violations, but that's where like George went off, Lewis went off, I think, was all in lap 12. Yeah. So the wind definitely, especially on Friday, looked bad.
Friday was crazy.
Looked really bad. And it sounded like it was like 104 on Saturday.
Yeah, they were talking about it hitting pretty high temperatures there. I'm like, oh, so glad I'm not there. Right? Milan was bad enough.
That's what I thought too. And I think I don't think we talked about this on a podcast, but not only did Austin, were they hosting F1 sprint weekend, there was also a huge college football game there with their team, their college team. And I think it's University of Texas. I don't know. I said it. It's not Texas Tech because I said that to my son this week, and he's like, "It's
Texas A&M."
It wasn't Texas A&M. I think it's University of Texas. They're the orange with the longhorn. But they were playing Georgia, which is apparently another great. I don't get into college football, but another great team.
Both big teams.
What?
Both very big teams.
Yes, both very big teams. Very big game, and a lot of the there's Lance Stroll was there, and there was a lot of secondary drivers. The backup drivers were all there watching. So Austin was crazy, and 104. I was like, I am so glad I am not going to this race this year.
Well, they had their normal conferences and stuff too, because a former colleague of mine who I worked with previously, he was at the Vanderhoot race last year.
Uh-huh.
He made a comment on LinkedIn about like being at this one conference. It was a great thing. Looking forward to the Austin GP. So there was like a conference, at least one. I mean, it's a big conference area. So I can't imagine the conference room rates with the F1 coming in. Oh my gosh.
They were high 2 years ago if you wanted to stay downtown with just F1 there. Like it was ridiculous. So I can't imagine with all of that happening. One, the traffic, two, the price of everything, trying to get a seat at a restaurant. Like, I'm glad I wasn't there. But yeah. Anyway.
So lots of that. I mean, that was like the biggest thing. But that sprint race, wow, that
was crazy.
I mean, everyone was so excited because, Max did his thing again. But I was more excited to see that. I mean, watching, I just knew you were like squealing every time Ferrari was battling because, man, Ferrari was just.
I was dying. I was like, what is happening? We had just finished lunch and driving back. And so I wanted to just watch the beginning. And I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we battling each other? We need to be like what? It stresses me out so bad. But then Carlos did get past Charles, and Charles wasn't happy. Charles was not happy about that at all. But dang, the way Carlos drove kind of all weekend. But there was where I really was like, what is happening? Like, who is he? Like, I don't know. I mean, he can be aggressive, but sometimes he kind of does like his thing. And sometimes he'll settle in fourth place or, third place or whatever. But he was going for it.
Yeah, it was. And interesting since Ferrari was I think it was one other team, but Ferrari definitely brought no upgrades. And so, and I think that's part of what some people were saying, some of the commentators were saying, because, they only have one practice, all these upgrades people brought, they didn't have a lot of time to shrew in the car. And Ferrari was just like solid. They knew their package. Yeah. And they just did it.
They made it work. And I honestly, there was only one practice, but I guess I wasn't thinking like this is going to be a place where we're going to shine. Like, who would have thought like Carlos, getting second? Charles really probably should have had third, but Lando was doing some questionable moves, I think, there towards that last lap. I think Charles could have ended up in third. Again, Charles was not happy about that because he had the opportunity. But then race day too. Like, who would have expected us to be first and second? That's insane. And I mean, Charles, I know we're jumping all over the place, but on race day, like when Max and Lando were battling each other at turn 1, which is like that stressful corner, and he was just like Carlos said, Charles was just in the right place at the right time, and he just took off. Like that was it, and never let go of first place.
I could just feel the excitement from you. I just knew you would love that. Like it's just like
I was stressed out, and I was sitting between two people. Wait, was I then? Yes, I was sitting between two people waiting for my flight to board, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you guys are not going to believe what's happening.
That's so awesome. So we just, I don't know if you're going to say Ferrari for the last, but go through the teams and what's been going on.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, props to Ferrari. This was Charles' third win. Monaco, Monza, and now Austin. We'll talk about where he's at in the points, but he is sneaky little bugger, sneaking up in the World Driver Championship, just saying. So that was pretty darn exciting to see that happening. And then Carlos, I felt a little bad because he said, I feel like if we're in third, if he was in third after qualifying for the regular race, he felt like he could win, but he just ended up getting behind both Max and Lando, right? After that first turn. And so he kind of didn't quite get where he wanted to be. But again, a 1-2. Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah, a 1-2. That's
take it. I'll take it. But yeah, that was great. Lewis though did not have a great.
Not at all. I mean, it wasn't looking good for George either with, for Mercedes as a whole, with George wrecking out 3 seconds at the end of quali for the race. And that, all I could think of was, that's what you all get for waiting to the very end to try to get your flyers in, because the entire field lost out. The entire field. They're like, oh, we're okay with what our times are set. And everybody was on their flying lap, yellow card. The time is out. There's no restart because it was at 3 seconds.
Yeah, that was it. And I know Max said he had a personal best, or at least was purple in the second sector. He was, I think, coming around to turn 20 when that happened. Carlos was saying he was up on his time, so he was curious as to where he was going to end up. I mean, a lot of people kind of lost out on that. Poor George.
A lot. And Perez got his time deleted, so he ended up in P10. I mean, he's lucky he ended up in Q3, but but yeah, it ended up being, that the thing is, I get so irritated that they don't push it just a little bit harder. Got to be that last one in, squeak it in, but then something like that happens.
Yeah.
But Russell, he was so cute. He's like, thanks everyone for getting the car ready. I'm gonna
dinner's on me.
Yeah.
I think he said dinner's on me, which was great because he really did have a really good drive, because I don't even remember where he started, but he ended up in 5th maybe. And I mean, that was pretty darn good for what he had going on. So major props to George. I think he was on his first set of tires. He used those for like 35 laps out of like 54 or 56 or whatever. Like he worked it. And typical George, he just kind of stays right there in the mix, right? Like he's just kind of right there, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place, somewhere in there. Doesn't seem to matter where he starts. That's where he kind of ends up. Lewis, I felt terrible for him after qualifying. Was it regular qualifying? And he was out in Q1. He said there was something up with his car, and it was nothing like it happened. But then to see him go out so early in the race, same place where I think George went off, and I mean, I just felt bad for him. But after qualifying, during that press conference, he was like, looking forward to next week. And I thought to myself, you have a race tomorrow. Like, why are we putting this energy out there? Why are we saying looking forward to next week? And then, what happens in the race? He's out right away. Done. Finished.
Yeah.
So,
crazy.
Yeah. He was not thrilled at all. What else? I loved the battle between like the skirmishes all weekend with Lawson and Alonso. Like,
oh my gosh.
I don't even know, because again, I was watching a lot of things like at midnight or like 7 in the morning or something. And so I was missing some of the nuances, but I know something happened where Alonso got mad at Liam for cutting him off or doing something. And Alonso was like, I'm going to get you back in qualifying. And he sure enough did. Boy, he cut him right off. Alonso cut Liam off. Like, it just kept going from one day to the next. And then, yeah, even during the race yesterday, they were battling each other. I think Alonso's not having any part of it.
No. Not at all. It was crazy.
Yeah. I think it was Fernando. I guess maybe after the first thing that happened, Fernando said, it's not my career that's at stake, it's his.
Yeah, it was crazy. But even some of the stuff that Liam was saying, it's like, it's been a while since I've seen like Fernando be so spicy and like, wow.
Liam wasn't backing down either. And then I don't know if you saw, but there's a picture of them, I think after qualifying, and they're both like, I mean, you could tell they're both talking and having words with each other. I thought, Liam Lawson, who are you? You are coming in for 6 races and you are spouting off to a 2-time world champion? What? No. You don't mess with Fernando. Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was. There's not much to say about Aston Martin. I was watching the race. I was like, the whole weekend, I was like, you know what? They're really just kind of getting what they can out of the car. Adrian will be there next year. They're just playing the long game at this point.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they're doing all right. They're in there. They're in there. It's all right. What else? I was just gonna say, let's talk about Lando though, McLaren. I feel like it wasn't necessarily like their best.
No.
But they screwed themselves.
They did. I mean, there's so much that got messed up with Lando. I mean, Lando, for the race itself, had a bad start, obviously.
Yep.
But what got me with him, I mean, the whole controversy about Max pushing him out, and if he was, passing, that whole last thing at the end, I think he was pushed for time at that point because he was getting pressured how many laps he had left.
Yeah.
Because he had fairly good pace, but then it started slipping a little bit. The problem is when he was ahead after everybody had boxed, and I was watching the time, he was like 18 seconds gap between he and Max. That was the gap I was watching. And then it was 17, and then it stayed there for a little bit, and then it started quickly going down, 17 and a half, 17, 16 and a half, 15. I was like, why aren't you guys boxing every lap? Why aren't you getting him out there? Because if they'd boxed him 3-4 laps earlier before it started drastically dropping and the pace got down, he would have gotten out there, had 3 or 4 more laps to catch up, and I think he would have felt less pressure to be as aggressive as he was, because he and Max were battling. It was a fun battle.
Great
battle. But then now we have the whole controversy of like, was he past the apex? Did Max push him out? Max never gets penalties. All that's going on out there now.
It is everywhere. And I don't think that Lando was at the apex. I think Max was ahead of him. And I think that's Max's, like, he knows to like just do what he needs to do braking wise to make sure he's ahead. But at the same time, they both are off the track. Like, you're both off the track, and Lando's the farthest car off of the track. So who pushed who? How did Lando push Max off the track? Like, if he's the car that's close, like further off the track, I have no idea. But it happened at the beginning of the race too. And Lando was on his radio, and he's saying, like, he pushed me off on purpose. He did not have any intent of being the car in front at turn 1 because he was also off the track. So, like,
they're like, well, they don't count it during the first lap, the first turn of the first lap, because that's just a racing thing. They make lenient there. Okay, that's great, but when it's not needed, or like you said, that one was really just a poor thing. But then you have, when there's been other times, if they were bringing up like Russell on Monaco, and even Russell in this one, there's been some things that are, maybe it's Carlos and Monaco, but there's just some things that are just slight inconsistencies and you know,
Yeah.
again, I think it would all could have been avoided if McLaren would have boxed him a little bit sooner and gotten him out there sooner, give him a few more laps to catch up that time. Because if you go back and listen to the radio, they tell him how many laps he has to catch Max and Carlos. They were telling him he was going to be able to catch Carlos if he had the right pace. Well, there was no way by the time he got to Max that he was going to be able to get to Carlos.
No, he was not going to get to Carlos. That is for sure. But also, like, would you have, if you're McLaren and now the incident's noted and it's under investigation and we're our laps are ticking away, would you have told Lando just give the place back and then go after him again? Because all you have to do is time where you're going to get that place back and then go after him. He doesn't have to get 3 seconds ahead of you or whatever. You're right behind him. So why not err on the side of caution? Give the freaking place back, because we don't know what the stewards are going to say. And hang on 1 second. Continue speaking without me.
But absolutely. And then instead of risking a 5-second penalty and all of that, I mean,
yeah,
it was crazy.
And it wasn't even just a penalty for that, because I don't know if he did end up with a track limit violation.
He did. Okay. He only got for leaving the track and gaining advantage from leaving the track.
Okay, so, because I know Red Bull had told Max that Lando was getting a track limit violation. Yeah. So there were 5 seconds and then maybe another 5 seconds. But
he got his black and white warning after the race ended, basically, or right toward the time ended. Yeah. But I went and counted up, and he wasn't over. Okay. But it was really scary too, because at one point he was almost under 5 seconds away from Piastri, so he would have lost Piastri too. It's like it was just he went from being so many points behind, losing 2 points behind on further moving 2 points further back on Saturday. It's like if he could have gotten ahead of him and really kept it, he would have gotten 1 point back, right? It's just anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if McLaren is sitting and thinking, what the heck? I mean, they've got all those monitors. How are you seeing, I don't know. I just think err on the side of caution and get him back. Like, clearly you were doing better. Max, I think, was having an issue with his tires. Like, I think you could have given it back and still, I don't know, maybe that's not the right decision. But to me, it just seemed like I think I'd rather take my chances that way. But it was a great battle. And I think that just adds to the season of, our two protagonists, like right up there for the first and second for the championship, battling each other at the beginning, at the end. Every point counts. I think that was awesome. I also loved watching Franco and Liam this weekend.
Yeah.
Both of those drivers outperformed their teammates. I will say, and this isn't just because I like Alex and because I like Williams, but Colapinto did better because Alex got hit by Valtteri at that opening turn, and it ruined his diffuser. So they were able to fix his wing, but there was nothing they could do about the diffuser, and it just cost him the entire race. So that's a bummer for Williams, because they could have potentially had 2 cars. So, but Colapinto's holding his own. He's going out there on another track where I don't think he has experience, or at least on a sprint weekend with one practice on a newly surfaced track, and is out there mixing it up. I think that's so exciting. And same with Liam, for him to come in the first race, especially after replacing Daniel, and doing as well as he did, going from, what was he? Did we say he was 19th?
Colapinto went from Lawson went from 19th to 9th.
Yeah,
10 places.
19th into
10 places.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous?
That's so crazy.
It's so fun to see these younger drivers. And I think our last episode, I was like, who else are we missing out on? Like, who else are we missing out on that could step into this sport and just pick it up and be fighting for points, taking points away from drivers that have been here, for 2 years? It's craziness. What was the other thing? You know what? The trophies. I was sitting there on the plane watching them hand out the little tires, the Pirelli tires, as the trophies. And if you notice,
I still haven't figured that out.
I'll tell you what happened. But if you notice, both like Charles' trophy, I couldn't really see it. I was like, okay, he gets a trophy. But then Carlos looks at his tire, like he kind of like turns it over, like he's looking to see if there's something different rather than just like, here's the Pirelli, you got pole position tire. And then Max does the same thing. And I'm like, I literally wrote down on the plane, stupid, dumb trophies for second, third, and the constructor. Like I said, they're Pirelli tires is what I wrote down. So what happened is, I guess that the real trophies are too similar to something, and you probably know what this is, but a brick bear.
Yeah.
And so they had to pull them at the last minute. Now, why nobody in Austin decided to, I don't know, show those, or, it didn't come to anybody's mind that this looked like it could be a copyright infringement. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to give them other real trophies and not just the Pirelli, but props to Pirelli for stepping in with their extra pole tires at the last minute. I was trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, well, Carlos is a medium. It has a medium. It's got the yellow on it. And Max's is a white. And I don't know. They must have given the red to the constructor. I have no idea. But that was the situation. That was the situation. So very sad. Very, very sad. And we had the safety car back for the first time in 9 races.
Yeah. Woo.
Props to that guy. He's had a very easy job the last couple of months. But he was back. He was back. So let's look at the standings, because there's some interesting things happening. Like, again, I said Charles was sneaking up, but he's not the only one. Look at that. A Ferrari 1-2. I think it's the first time since the 70s or something, or the 80s, that they had a 1-2 in Austin, or in the US, maybe just in general. But dang, doesn't it look good?
Yeah, and then you've got that.
I love that he was driver of the day. I didn't even see that Charles was driver of the day. Amazing. What a great, great thing to see.
There are standings.
Here's where it gets interesting. Look at Leclerc climbing up on Norris. So there's what? Now how much difference is it 54 now? No. It's not 54. 54 is 57 points difference. 57-point difference now between first and second, Verstappen and Norris, because Verstappen won the sprint. And then he bested Norris for the podium. But you've got Charles Leclerc at 275 to Norris's 297. So his little very steady performance is kind of pulling him up into maybe second place in the World Drivers' Championship. We've got 5 races left, people, and 2 of them are sprints. And if Charles and Ferrari keep doing what they're doing, that is a possibility that we've been talking about Norris fighting Verstappen, and he may end up third. Like, that's not funny, but you know what I mean. That's a nervous laugh, because poor Lando. But it could happen.
It could happen. It could happen. Some crazy standings.
Yeah. And Russell's even beating Lewis there. But the constructor, look at that.
I know that's amazing. And Ferrari, again, so close, 8 points away from taking out Red Bull. Red Bull could go from the champion to third place.
Yes, exactly. So 40 points now difference for McLaren to Red Bull. I mean, here's the thing. Perez is not helping that team when it comes to the constructor, because you've always got Norris and Piastri are always up there. So they're getting good chunks of points. And then Perez is, here he got 8th this weekend, but sometimes he's not even there. So now there's a 40-point difference between McLaren in first and Red Bull in second. But like you just said, there's an 8-point difference between second and third. Ferrari, if they continue to do well, and it's just Max pulling the constructor points for Red Bull, Ferrari could end up in second.
Absolutely.
Maybe first.
And you were saying earlier how important it is across the entire constructor. Look, Haas moved up. Haas is now ahead of VCarb by
They're
2
in
points.
6th place. Oh my gosh. They had a great weekend though. Let's just say, like Kevin, I don't know what happened during his race, but there was that moment where his pit crew was like, pit now, pit now, pit now. And he went in, and we don't know what it was, or I haven't heard what it was. But he was in the points up until that point. And then he got called in and he never made it back. But they really had a great weekend.
The inspectors, the commentators had said they thought he might got a puncture or something.
Yeah.
They were trying to, but
yeah,
well, that's the only one. And I know we're wrapping up, but the other thing that was freaky was like Max, they told him something was wrong with his car mid-race and they were going to fix it during a pit, that we had a quick pit. And Carlos, for a while, was talking about he smelled gas in the car, which was freaky. And then they were able to fix whatever until press this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And then it was going to be fine. And then later on, they're like, we're going to do phase, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I don't know what that means.
That was hysterical. No, they said you need to break in phase 1 or something on turn 1. And he's like, I don't know what that means.
I know, that was hysterical.
That's
anyway.
So, but yes.
It was a great weekend. Fun.
But good for Haas. Like they're 2 points now ahead of, and then again, we were talking about that battle of Williams and Alpine. Williams is in 8th with 17 points and Alpine in 9th with 13 points. Those points matter. Poor Sauber with 0 points. That's awful. That's really sad.
Yeah, I don't see Joe with a seat. I worry about Valtteri at this point. So
yeah, no.
We still have 3 seats open. So all right, then we have next week.
Woo! Mexico. This is always a fun race. Oh my gosh. Perez. There was rumors that Perez was going to announce his retirement in Mexico. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that was out there a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. But this is always a good time. I would love to go to this race. It's so unique in a lot of ways. And it's, when it comes through that stadium and, the whole 9 yards, it's just, how fun is that? And we'll probably get to see Papa Perez. He's always a good time. But we've got 2 DRS on 71 laps. Yeah, here we go. Round 2 of this three round.
The first Grand Prix back in 1963. It is an old track, so it's gonna be good. All right.
Can't wait. Well, we'll see what happens. So much movement. This year is so much. I mean, we've talked about this a million times. This year is so much better than the last couple of years. And now that we're coming down, 5 races are left, and anything could happen. And again, just looking at those points for constructor and driver championship, like holy moly.
I feel like we're saying another exciting race, another just like, oh my gosh, it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been
all right.
Great.
Well, let's into the next one. I'll be in the States for this one, so it'll be easier for recording. And
if you're watching, you won't be up until the wee hours of the morning.
That's true. So we'll be off to that till next week.
Yay!
I'll see you then.
Bye.
Thanks all. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and a review. To stay up to date with She Loves the Grid and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at She Loves the Grid and on Facebook at facebook.com/She Loves the Grid. Thank you for joining us for the ride this week.